from the Port of Shelton, Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have got and have been talking a lot about the 4th of July, and of course in the city proper, no fireworks in the city. I can only imagine that you guys have to shoo off some folks every so often there, Port Properties.
We typically do in years past, but I was just commenting how I mean, personally haven't heard the booms this year. You know, I feel like people are, I don't know, maybe they're getting smarter, maybe they're just waiting, I don't know. But
I wouldn't hold your breath on that one there, Wendy.
So doggone expensive, you know.
That's true, too. It's and then you shoot it off and you're done. And
it's going, 10 seconds later, you're out $30.
Yeah.
So we haven't had to chase anybody off this year,
good.
Which is good because we do have a lot of hidden little spots. I shouldn't say that. Maybe I should.
Well, they're still hidden.
Yes, secluded areas. There we go.
Yeah.
Hit the dump button. Hit the dump button.
So just again, a reminder to keep it safe and sane. If you're outside of the city limits, there are ample opportunities for potentially devastating wildfires, and you guys have a lot of grassland on both your properties.
We do.
Yes.
Things to think about there.
Yeah. Yeah. Go find a good show to watch and, take part in being a spectator instead of doing it on your own.
Yeah.
And I know, Dick, you live in the city limits, and so we've been talking with Chief Mike Patty, and then Chief Darren Moody from the Sheriff's Police Department, and how they're working really hard, again, to make sure folks are aware that the ban in the city is enforceable now, and we're kind of moving past the hey kind of
the
phase.
Education stage, we're going to the
enforcement stage. Yeah.
You've done a bad thing.
There's something to think about there. What else is going on Port Property? Let's start at Sanderson Field.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we had our meeting yesterday, and approved a lease of a very interesting company. An interesting, not product, but interesting exercise that they do, enterprise that they do.
Well, tell us more.
Yeah, so this isn't Sanderson, it's Johns Prairie.
Okay.
But this is a renewal for Belco, and they're our one and only user of our shoreline rail out at Johns Prairie.
That's
so
right.
that was what this lease was. It was nothing else but the rail yard and then the rail itself. They get a number of cars included in that, and anything they go in excess of the 8 cars that are included, they pay per car. So
where does the rail line start and end up there? How does that work?
Starts right past our property. So it's owned by Genesee and Wyoming as the parent company, and so it's Puget Sound and Pacific. They're actually just merging and being bought out. I just got an email about that yesterday, I think, or maybe Monday. But they so it starts, their main line comes in right at the far end of Johns Prairie on our property, and then ours continues on through our property. It goes south towards Shear Brothers, and then veers over west. So it's just a short line.
So Belco is the only one that uses it. Traditionally, have others utilize that line, and do they haul it within their property, or they move it to get offloaded?
So Belco uses it to haul in and out. So they get product that comes in, and then they truck to their property because they're actually a little further down Johns Prairie. I think it's been utilized in the past. We had Mason County Forest Products when they were part of on our property. They were going to be what's called a transloader, and they were kind of moving forward to do a lease where they would manage the operations on the rail. So we're always looking for that kind of opportunity. We aren't rail experts. Our crew, my wonderful maintenance crew, they all are skilled in rail maintenance, which is very different than regular maintenance, and it's very hard work, and it's not fun.
I mean, this is like getting the ties out from under the line,
replacing
the
ties,
spikes and all that stuff.
And there's certain, we have certain equipment in our shop that's used for strictly for rail work, and it's tough.
I can't imagine the technology on repairing those things has necessarily changed over the
It has.
Yeah.
Takes a big spike and a hammer.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think there's probably more machines that would do it. We don't have the machines to do it, we have just the manpower.
Yeah.
But, loads of tracks and rail loads, ours is, was from the war time. I mean, it was in the 40s, it was from the military. And so, there's thought of, should we replace some of those, some spots where, it's kind of weaker, if it's kind of that catch-22. Should we replace it and then maybe we'll get more use out of the rail, or should we wait until we get the user out of the, So
It's a tough conundrum.
The bright spot is it's all low speed.
Yeah.
There's no high-speed rail there. Nothing, heavy loads, but not at high speed.
Sure.
So that's a plus.
Yeah. But we have interest, we still have, and there's some people we've been talking to over the years, even Puget Sound and Pacific Rail, that has groups that contact them that need rail use. We've had some potential tenants that are maybe doing a job up for, some kind of tech company possibly out in, Redmond, and they need, a yard to lay down equipment and need to truck it by, or truck it or rail, and rail is cheaper. So things like that where we have the property, and so, it kind of lends itself to being a good value. So I think it will probably pick up and run one day. We're just kind of right at that cusp of when that'll happen.
That's
You know,
nice.
and the interesting thing is that we can have direct access to a deep water port through that railroad.
Yeah.
And that's Grace Harbor Port, so we can be a deep water port facility. And there's been talk about that ever since I've been on the commission.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is working on developing those ties, and it'll come one day.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, again, back to this, the age of that type of transportation is still maintained and still utilized across the country on a minute by minute basis. I mean, there's trains going all over the place.
Right.
That's cool.
And hauling all kinds of cargo.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing dynamic, though, because they're all like different.
Yeah, they're all privately owned.
Yeah.
This
none of
rail is owned by this company, and then you have to get permission from this, and it used to be that all the rail, they were pretty guarded. They wanted, you have to use ours and only ours, and so then you couldn't get through different, and it's become less of that. They're all kind of starting to work together and realize that, if they work together, they can, transport
It all
goods.
works out good.
Yeah. So it's getting, it's just hard to understand it all, I think, but.
What else is going on?
So at Sanderson, we're, of course, gearing up for the big runway project. One of the hurdles we had to jump through was with our streak-horned lark, the listed species. We had to get a biological, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but opinion of sorts that basically okays work starting in what is like the tail end of the nesting season for the larks, because that directly could impact. So I think that they've finally agreed that we'll actually hire a firm to come out and do a sample the week before the project actually starts construction, and they'll look for the juveniles in the nests. And if they see some, we're hopeful that they won't, because it is the tail end of the season. But if they see some, then they'll have some buffer areas to where work can't happen in those areas. But at first they were saying maybe we couldn't even go through those areas, and that would have really impacted the project.
So I know you're not the bird experts on this. Do they live along the grasses on the ground, or are they up in the trees?
No, they are on the ground.
Oh, okay.
They are on the ground. They are teeny, tiny birds, very similar.
They have a powerful union, though.
Yeah.
They come out and negotiate with you
They
guys.
got the federal government behind them.
Yeah.
Forget about building right here.
The problem with them, the problem for airports is that they themselves are tiny enough not to probably impact most airplanes, but the predators of them are a very detrimental impact. So as much as you're trying to protect them, you're also worried about the draw of the predators to them to impact air traffic. So there's kind of a balancing act there, but they've spotted lots more of them in recent years, which means the population's on the increase, which is also good because then they're not quite as protected.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing all that we
we're
can.
helping the species out. Yeah.
But with that assessment, it's kind of the green light to go forward. What would have happened is if you wait out the full season, then your project could be impacted by weather.
Sure.
And of course, paving in rainy weather doesn't really work.
No good.
So the other good news is the FAA, I don't know that we've officially gotten it in writing, but they have agreed to allow us the use of the taxiway for temporary runway during the project.
Good.
So we are currently going through a SEPA process, getting feedback on cutting some trees that actually penetrate that I'm not getting the right word, but the approach to that runway surface. So that's good news for all the pilots. That's good news for the users that come from out of the area. That's good news for businesses like Kapowson, ability to use and have a well-marked actual runway for use, where others will use it during closures, but if it can be marked and be safer and have the trees removed, it's better things.
Better deal.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's exciting stuff.
Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith helping us understand issues on port property at Johns Prairie and Sanderson Field. You guys have a good, happy, safe 4th of July tomorrow.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you too.
We'll talk with you next week
We want
then.
to see you back with all your fingers.
That's right. They'll be there.
thumbs.
They'll be there for sure.